Hello everyone, Tony here, and I know when we do a Manscaped read, we normally have myself, Aaron, and Steve with me, but I needed to get this one out quick because it has to go in this week's episode because our friends at Manscaped have sent us this, the Handyman. They have entered the beard game. It is no longer just about your balls, my friends. Our faces are getting the Manscaped treatment as well. Are you tired with that relentless stubble situation? Do you dream of having a fresh, clean-shaven look but cringe at the thought of battling the daily grind of a wet shave? Well, you are not alone, my friends, and that's why we've teamed up with Manscaped to bring you the ultimate solution. Brace yourselves, because Manscaped is making a statement in the beard game with the all-new Handyman Electric Face Shaver. Your ticket to a face as smooth and sharp as James Bond, minus the chaos of a traditional shave. Join the 9 million gents worldwide who've entrusted their grooming to Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Hop over to manscaped.com, use the promo code FMShow to snag a glorious 20% off and score free worldwide shipping. As I say, this turned up this morning. Usually when I do my beard, I get a disposable razor in to do my neck and obviously the line up and under my eyes. I used the Handyman this morning, and my word, no more disposable razors for me. This is a seriously good bit of kit. I am very, very impressed with that. Whether you're looking for a wet shave or whether you're going to do it dry, the Handyman is your trusty sidekick, ready for action wherever you go. It's compact design, it's airplane friendly. It makes it the ultimate on-the-go grooming tool. And of course, if you have a bit more on your face like I do, you can also look at getting yourself involved with the beard hedger that has up to 20 hair cutting lengths, all on one guard, so no more messy drawer full of extra add-ons. So trust me, gents, you cannot go wrong with any of these options. Manscaped has your grooming game locked and loaded. Get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code FMShow at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code FMShow. Hit that refresh button with the Handyman. Welcome to the FM Show, everyone. I am, of course, your host, Tony Jameson, and joining me, as always, are the FM Show's very own double pivot, RDF Tactics, and producer Steve. Now, I'll let you decide which role you are both going to take up in that analogy. That might be a little hint as to what we're going to talk about on today's show. But before that, fellas, how are we?
I am doing...
Stop doing that, Aaron. Don't speak for me.
Worst thing is that when I'm saying we, I actually mean me. I don't know where I get it from. But yeah,
when you're talking to the chat.
Yeah, sort of. Sorry, chat.
I do that on my stream as well. I often refer to it. We did this. We did this. We did
yeah,
this.
Yeah.
We got sacked. We got relegated. No, you got sacked. You got relegated.
Literally.
Anyway,
but,
how are you, Aaron? How are you?
I'm doing fantastically well. We're still in Italy, surprisingly. But so, yeah, that's surprising. It's been here for quite some time now. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I'm doing fantastically well. Thank you for asking.
Excellent stuff. And Steve, you look sprightly and happy as well.
Well, it's partly because I'm wearing my lovely FC Cluj shirt, which we got from our friends at Surprise Shirts, and which, of course, you can get as well. You can have that moment that I had if you haven't seen it in last week's episode. He says, double checking it was last week's episode. Last week's episode.
Last week.
Yes.
We
19,
recorded out of
20.
sync, by the way, just for all the viewers. Like normally we'd have a specific date and we've shuffled it around. We don't really know.
I don't know what day it is. That you're listening to it, that we're making it, what planet we're on, who knows? Anyway, our friends at Surprise Shirts sent us, I got this one, FC Cluj, the sort of one of the more successful Romanian teams. Lovely maroon as well. I don't know if you can see the camera.
Beautiful.
And good fit as well, because you give your measurements and actually fitted, which is, as we probably know from buying stuff online, is a bit of a lottery sometimes. So if you use the discount FM Show, I believe that is correct, you will get 20% off from our friends at Surprise Shirts. So 20, 10, 10, just 10. 10%. Just 10. Still a good offer.
With our friends at Manscaped, but it's 10% with our friends at Surprise Shirts.
There you go,
so
10%. Still a great offer. just not as much as I said originally.
If you buy 2, is that technically 20%? Maybe, who knows?
It resets. I got a B at GCSE maths, so I'm not the one to ask numerical questions. So my shirt chat is going really well. I'm very happy. It's very comfy. I'll probably wear it next time I play 7-a-side as well. Although I don't really want to get sweaty. But anyway, enjoying it very much. Enjoy the experience overall. Very good. Saves wise, it's a slightly different story because I have to admit, in terms of FM24, the real life news with regards to Everton has slightly dampened my enthusiasm for the football world generally, if I'm being completely honest, and specifically the challenge of Everton. You know, because for those who may not know, IRL, as they say, Everton have been docked 10 points from this season, which means that having been mid-table on 14 points in a great momentum, etc., they're now slap bang at the bottom, level on points with, I want to say, Luton or Sheffield United. And anyway, I should probably stop talking about that situation or express how I really feel about it any further. Obviously, the save that I started, that won't be reflected. And so it's like, do I start again with the penalty once it's included in the update? Do I, when it's included, sorry. It just feels already now that it's like, wow, this is a different challenge to, you know, what I don't know if you guys feel the same too in terms of the balance between taking what's happening in reality and doing it better.
Yeah, for sure.
We've done whole episodes on the appeal of saves, whereas it's now I just feel like I'd be living this slightly false equivalence.
Yeah.
You know,
it happens all the time.
I think the thing is, I think because of how I know you, that if you do well with Everton, there'll be something in the back of your brain, because the same as mine, they'll be going, yeah, but in real life, they've got 10 points less than what I had. So technically, my achievement's been nothing. I'm going to burn them all. And it's like, no, celebrate the achievement, but I can't because then I'll be happy. Like, that's not, like, you're built like me, Steve. You're not designed to be happy, right? So, what I think is an interesting thing, though, is you could, I'm going to read between the lines here, and potentially that Everton save may not happen, and you might now be looking for something new. Are you maybe wearing your new save shirt right now?
It is a lovely shirt, and like
you were sold on the story. You were like, okay,
let's get up Cluj because they are kind of like an established team in Romania, aren't they? They're sort of one of the more.
They may be a bit too good in Romania,
but in a way, though, I don't as not to upset any Romanian football fans who are watching or listening, but there's only so much in-depth knowledge I want to have of Romanian football, if I'm being completely honest. So, in a way, getting a team, you know, with their history in terms of the amount of titles they've won and stuff would be a kind of quite good thing to do. I am half wondering, and don't quote me on this in terms of a commitment. This is not a commitment, to be clear. I am half wondering about Cambridge United. Because
timestamp it,
because they're relatively local to me. You know, when I live relatively close to the Abbey Stadium, and I think IRL, you know, what the club is doing in terms of they've just had a recently upgraded training ground, so that's a tick on the old FM thing. They're doing what they can with the stadium. It's in a tricky position in terms of upgrading, but they own it again. The club own it again, having not owned it previously. They're in League One, doing pretty good in terms of like mid-table, etc. And when you look at the size of the club, its stadium, you know, it's in a division with the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, etc. It's really doing, like, it would be very surprising / quite fun to see Cambridge in the Championship, even talking about the Premier League when you sort of know the size of it, stadium-wise, etc. So that's what I'm thinking about, because I haven't done on FM anyway.
Back in the League One. How did you not do the Sheffield Wednesday save with us last season?
Yeah, but do you know, weirdly though, it depends on the expectations, because Sheffield Wednesday was many reasons why that was hard, because it's like, well, actually, I've not got a squad that's like a guarantee promotion sort of thing, as much as you can guarantee it in a football league. But the expectation was absolutely there, so it felt like quite a tightrope to sort of, you know, learn the players, and the results became quite dependent. Whereas Cambridge, it will be survival.
Yeah, you know? I've just pulled up their some information about them and going through, like, you know, the players that they've got here and the expectation. I mean, you can write another story here, Steve.
Yeah,
look, their rivals, Luton in the Premier League. Overtake Luton.
Luton. I know Peterborough is the sort of
Peterborough's the
rival.
Current main rival. There's Northampton. There's Colchester, Stevenage. I mean, Cracking. You've obviously got the university derby with Oxford as well. So
yes, yeah. Yeah, they've also got. I don't know if he's still with them. Yes, he is. A player called Joe Ironside, and without looking, where do you reckon he plays position-wise?
Oh, goalkeeper, clearly goalkeeper, Joe Ironside. If he's not, he's the physio.
What do you reckon, Aaron?
The name's so familiar. I've 100% come across him in the game. That's why I'm
Joe Ironside, not a detective, crucially as well.
I'm going to send it forward. I don't know why. He said I've come across him. To be fair, I have come across him.
That wasn't a name guess. Because for me,
it's the name that I've definitely come across him. Yeah. You ain't going to come across him.
Ipswich Cambridge last season, actually. And it's obviously flying in the Championship now. And it was, I want to say Frank McKenna, I think that's right, is their manager still. So saw them. Cambridge got a draw in that game, actually, which was quite something when you consider where Ipswich are now. But yeah, Joe Ironside was like, okay, obviously he's number 9 for me. Like, just felt like sort of typical English number 9 name sort of thing. Kieran McKenna, sorry, is Ipswich manager, not Frank. I don't know who Frank is.
Kieran McKenna,
yeah. So that's what I'm wondering about. But to be honest with you, Tony, as well, what did happen was, as often happens, as I go back and forth between FM24, I get a bit scared. I went back to Fiorentina for a bit in FM22.
That's fine. That makes sense. Because sometimes, you got to remember, like this is more for me than anybody else, right? This game is meant to be fun. Okay, it's not meant to be a reflection of society and the real life, football and everything like that. And you can do just sometimes it's just about having fun. And if you're in a long-term save, a deep long-term save, it is difficult to let go. It's very, very difficult to let go. So you know what, Steve? I know we've ribbed you a little bit about this, but I can totally see why you've gone back to Fiorentina. And totally see. And also as well, as we touch upon more bits and pieces, potentially, obviously, with today's episode, it might bring you back towards FM24 because there's certain things you need to learn before you get into FM24, given the fact you've come from 22. You missed out 23. So, it's fine. Yeah. It's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah. But actually, on FM22, on Fiorentina, one specific thing I wanted to ask you guys about was, have you ever had it, or the longer sense of it would be, when an ex-player has joined a rival and you've played against them and you felt that heartbreak?
Quite a few times, and they tend to play really well. They raise their game.
Yeah.
It's happened quite some time,
Because Mike Mannion, who was my stalwart keeper that I bought 15 million from AC Milan, had him for like undisputed number 1 about 6 seasons. Binned him off. He went to Monaco. I was like, great, he's out of the league, sort of thing. And also, he was like 33, 34 at the time, so he won't come back anywhere. Signed for Juventus in the summer.
Oh,
and we lost it. Yeah,
it had to be Juve as well.
Had to be Juve as well. Came back first game we played against them with him in goal. We didn't have a single shot on target. Didn't even sting his palms, and we lost.
It sounds like as well he's coming back at like the peak of his powers as well. Just
but he's 36, and I thought, because the part of the reason I sold him was like completely in terms of eye test rather than stats. There were moments when I was watching on comprehensive highlights, crucially, where I was like, 2 seasons ago he'd have saved that.
Yeah,
and you
he's
see
36 in Italy though.
Really.
He's got like 25 years left in him. He'll be fine.
On the Buffon scale of
I remember back in the day when it was the original champ manager, and it's like you only had a 20-year career. Like players in Italy had no chance in this game. You could have been like, right, I'm going to be a wonder kid, and then the game's finished before you've even hit your actual potential. I was like, I'm only 37. Come on.
What I will say is, I think again we might have to double check these things with FM, because I am positive, especially FM22. It would have came up in the hints and tints when you're hints and tints.
Hints and tints.
My car looked at, yeah.
Playing hairdresser 22, are we?
Hints and tints. The hits and tips. So when the game's processing, you press continue and the drop down thing comes down. Goalkeepers are usually in their peak between the age of 32 and something like that. 32 and like 36, that is quite old. So maybe you've actually sold your goalkeeper in what Football Manager would recognise as their peak years, and possibly one reason why Juve bought him. That could have, because at first I thought, oh, he's a bit old for the AI to be buying, sort of thing, and then I just realised actually for the goalkeeper it's a bit different than the outfield players. Yeah,
it's weird as well because they have a young regen.
Well.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Tony.
I was going to say, in relation to the league as well, maybe there's code in there that, if you're a bit older, you can go to Italy and match up. The average age could be a little bit higher, possibly.
Yeah. But anyway, that really stung. So that was one of the things that, ups and downs, eh?
If you want to talk about Sting, before we get to Aaron, I'll talk about Aaron's save in a minute. And of course, Aaron's fantastic shirt as well, by the way. I'm aware that we are talking predominantly for YouTube listeners at this point. For our audio listeners, we will, of course, explain it fully.
We are wearing clothes.
But yeah, everyone's wearing clothes for the audio listeners, right? Just 20 episodes in and they're going, I'm glad they finally addressed it, because I was wondering if at one point, do they record this naked? We do, but we CGI everything in. Sorry, I digress, right? We're talking about things that sting. Steve, okay, again, that's not
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Oh, this week's clip's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, betrayal. Steve, I'm going to tell you a story of betrayal, okay? Because I think I left you last week talking about, and I do remember seeing the clip, squad planning with 5 players. Okay?
Oh yeah,
it's quite tricky to do that. So what we did was we eventually managed to build a team as part of our Building Nation in Greece, which of course we're doing over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Tony Jameson FM, if you wish to come and have a little look at us. We are currently managing Larissa, we just missed out on promotion, which I mentioned last week. We finished 3rd. We then, all of our players went, not really fussed about playing for you anymore, probably think we might leave. And they did. And we were like, oh. So we had a bit of a panic. Okay. We managed to retain a couple of players, more notably our forward players, who are the foreign players as well. And they tend to be a little bit better. Their wages are a little bit higher. We've not got a lot of money, so we're literally like penny pinching and scraping along. But I'm like, right, we've got that sorted. Retained our centre forward, retained our winger, retained our other winger. We signed, I don't know if I told you this last week or not, we signed a massive, massive star in Yanam Villa. Okay?
No.
We got him in on a free transfer. Ooh. He'd left Olympiacos, so he's in Greece anyway. £2,000 wage. I was like, are you kidding me? He's like 33 or something. I'm like, you kidding me? This guy could literally boss this division, take us up into the next league, given the captain's armband. All of a sudden, I've got players going, oh, we'll come and play. So I get these other like guys in. I get some players on loan. I'm kind of like, again, just square pegs, round holes, putting players in. I got an Italian goalkeeper called Gianluca Marchigiani, which is the most Italian-sounding goalkeeper I could possibly get. Carlos Camini's still there, stealing a wage. Nobody will buy a 40-year-old with a 2-year contract. Who'd have thought?
Oof, wow.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah.
And he's on £500 a week though, so it's not massive, but it is still like, I mean, come on, you know. So we replan, we rebuild, okay, we redesign, we're ready to go again. The media predicts us to finish 2nd at this point. The league structure, as I said, has shifted around, so it's no longer north and south. It's just one division. So I'm like, right, 2 big teams have come down. You're expecting us to be up there thereabouts? Right, let's do it. The board are going, mid-table's fine. I'm like, I like you. I like you a lot, right? So we get self-sorted. We go through pre-season. We're looking pretty decent, I think. You know, things are going well. And then on the dawn of the first match of the season, Yanam Villa goes, I don't like it around here. I want to leave. I'm like, you've literally been here pre-season. He's like, yeah, soz, just change of plan. Like, I don't really like being in Greece. I'm like, you've been here. You were at Olympiacos. That's in Greece. Right? He's like, I'm like, do you want me to bring like a mate along? And he's like, nah, they'll just get upset as well. I'm just going to go. And I was like, right. So he wants to transfer in. I'm like, okay, fair enough. So we put him on the transfer list. And then I'm offering him out. And he's straight away snapped up by 2 French sides battling for him. But the move doesn't happen until after the transfer deadline shuts.
Oh, you're joking.
So, of course, we've got to pay his wages until January. I had a bit of a strop and refused to play him, so he's played 1 match.
I mean,
that's partly my own fault, right?
Yeah, you still, but, even though he's unhappy, still play him.
But without him, we went 13 matches unbeaten. Okay? And we were sat 2nd in the league. And everything was looking good. And the only points we'd really dropped were we drew with the team who were top, who were also unbeaten at this point, and we drew with one other team as well. And everything was looking fine. It was looking rosy. It was looking grand. And I did that thing, Aaron, that we sometimes do where you turn the computer off and you come back another day.
Oh my God.
I wish I hadn't bothered. I really don't. Like, I'll turn the computer back on for the following stream. Days later, I'm sat there going, this is brilliant. We're going to have a great time, lads. January transfer window's coming up. We're flying. We're mathematically in with the hunt of the title. Lost 4 games out of 6. Our players just forgot how to play.
Dear.
We had an injury crisis from God knows where. Like, Marcajani breaks his hand, so Kamini's got to come in goal, and he's not one for saving shots, really. He's not really that fussed about it. We cheered at one point when he did make a save. We're like, yay! 5-2 down, but he still saved it, so it counts, right?
Hey.
We got an injury to a striker, so that wasn't good. We got an injury to a defender. We got an injury in midfield. Like, everyone's getting like these niggly little 1 and 2 weeks, and then like wingers getting like 7 weeks. And I'm like, oh, right, let's just limp on to the transfer window.
Yeah.
And as we got to the transfer window, Jan and Veer, of course, went and left, and the fans are going, I can't believe we sold Jan and Veer. I'm like, do you remember at the start of the season when he kicked off and wanted to leave? That's why he's gone. So he's gone, but we've brought in a young Marleyan forward called Doumbia, who I think kind of looks the business. Really, we've brought him in.
Seydou Doumbia, is it?
No. Like, I don't know who he is. He's 18. He's got finishing of 16. He's got acceleration of 17. He's got composure of 14. I'm like, I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket, but I've bought a massive basket full of eggs. And I was reminded very quickly going, remember, Tony, you put all your eggs in the Yam and Via basket, and that didn't really work out well. I'm like, this will be different, surely.
Those eggs were smelly and wanted to leave. Yes.
Exactly. So I don't know where we go from here. It's going to be interesting to work out by the time we speak next week as to whether or not we've pushed on and we've sort of managed to get everyone fit again and get some loan players in to kind of rebolster the squad and refresh the squad for that end of season push. So fingers crossed, we might be able to turn form around, but who knows? Who knows? It could be a bit of a fall from grace. I don't know. It's been fun, though. So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled on that one. So that's my update. Aaron, I have to come back and talk about this shirt, though, so I'm sorry for talking for too long. But let's discuss it for the visual viewers amongst you. You can obviously see it. For the audio listeners, though, Aaron, have a go describing it.
Yeah, so we've got a red and white stripy Almeria top. I'm trying to figure out what league they're in. They can't be La Liga. I've got a La Liga badge. I'm thinking
it might be Segundo.
They might be. Or does
from memory, they tend to sort of some at their best sort of yo-yo.
Okay, they might be in La Liga because I'm starting to remember a player called Ramdani that I thought, oh, this guy's
Almeria. According to FM24 as a database, they've also got a B team, Almeria B.
Oh.
They are in the Spanish First Division.
Okay,
they're in La Liga this season.
Oh,
Los Rojiblancos. Which obviously the Spanish speakers among us.
So we do have a La Liga top. Yes, let's go. It's Almeria. The manufacturer is Castore. The Wolves. The Wolves. I actually quite like this because it's stitched in as well. I love this. But the badge is kind of plastic. It's like just stuck on top. So I'm going to be careful with washing it. This is the first time I've actually worn it. It's the first time I've worn it. I like this top, to be fair. When I saw it as well and the price, I was like, yep, that's mine. Thank you very much. But with my save, we're in Italy, not Spain. we're with Bari. I remember actually in the last episode, I was talking about the third season being a bit... So in the second season, we overachieved, getting into Europe in our second season. And then in our third season is where things started to feel like it was balancing out, where the results we weren't kind of overachieving. It kind of felt like we was playing towards our level. But as I said that, and then we were streaming after that, I did make a tweak. So we was using overlaps, so I then changed it to underlaps in my tactic. And then things it just felt like one of those things where everything just started to click. We beat Roma 7-2, Cremonese 6-0, and it was just Brescia 6-0 as well. So all these results were coming, and Tony, literally the same thing. I turned my computer off, came back the next day, and it's no wins in 4. So we drew against Atalanta, lost to Fiorentina, drew against Bologna, lost to Milan. We drew against Inter as well. Now, some of these don't sound too bad. If you was in the game, it might be a different story. So the Inter Milan one really ticked me off because it was they equalized in the last minute, and it was Inter that was top as well. no, we was top, and Inter were just behind us as well. So it was that opportunity to grow the points gap. And then when they scored in the 96th minute, you just have this sinking feeling like, I've just got a feeling the luck's going to change, sort of thing. And that was my first game back in the stream as well. So it was like, I got 2-1 up and I was like, yes, we're still great. But it was just, it's weird how a goal can just change your whole feeling. It's like, I've got a feeling this is going to be one of those days. And then I was correct. After that Inter game, things just did not go well. And that's how the say is going. But I did leave you lot. I did leave the podcast in second season when we did qualify for Europe. Third season, I mean, Tony, we ended up winning the league. I don't know what happened.
Hey,
it's
champion again.
It's weird. It's a bit of a. It's got there's pros and cons, right? So when we started the save, it was like no. Do hear me out. Do hear me out. So we had this picture of a journey, right? So we wanted this journey. We're gonna go with Bari, and then we're gonna yes, it's gonna be a great feeling when we finally do win Serie A. But then when we won it in the third season, it kind of got to what do we do now? sort of thing, because we didn't expect it to happen. And it's like, of course you can chase the Champions League, but I always say to people, like, Champions League is never like a target for me, because I feel there's so much luck and stuff involved. It's a cup competition in the end of the day. Like, it's not a league, so I don't really aspire to win it. If I win it, great, cheers. But my thing is always the league. Like, the league first and then everything else behind that sort of thing. But yeah, we won it, and it's just like, yeah, we can go for the Champions League now, but if you do get knocked out in the knockout rounds, then you just got to play for a whole season until you can win it, sort of thing. So we are at some weird stage where we're like,
win again, Aaron. That's what you do. You retain.
So we're pushing, and we're only, to be fair, despite that bad run, we're only 2 points behind the top of the table. So we're still pushing. We're still in Europe, but that confidence just got knocked out of me. I just got that feeling that things can turn around. Like, we only had one bad spell last before, and now it's like it's just coming in sort of waves where we fix it, and it feels good for 4 games until we start losing again. And I don't like changing things after one loss. I kind of wait for like 2, 3, and that sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for the third one, and then the third one might be too many losses at that time. But yeah, we're still enjoying it. Of course, we've got some players that we've grown attached to, and we're still waiting for players that we've scouted that are going to be joining us, because they were 17 and you have to wait till they're 18. So we're still enjoying it. It's just more so the targets. We're not quite sure what to do with the save, like the end goal anymore. Before it was kind of like win Serie A and take over Italy. Now we've won Serie A, it's like we can take over Italy, but things are happening quite too quickly. But saying that, I am quite looking forward to doing a sort of a fresh save as well. Not now, not anytime soon, but I do want to do one with my local team, a bit like what you suggested earlier, Steve.
Okay, I quite like that. A nice bit of local for everybody. So everyone's getting on the local train. Interesting. That might lean into something that gets mentioned again towards the end of the show. I like the updates. And again, I mean, Aaron hasn't done it, right? But if you want to go and watch Aaron win the league yet again with Bari, okay, it's twitch.tv/RDF Tactics, okay? So go and do that. So big shout out to Aaron. And of course, huge shout out to our new Patreon members. Welcome to Liam Ellison and Ian Duncan. If you want to become part of the squad, of course, you can do the same as they've just done as well. You know where to head. There's a link in the description below, patreon.com/FM Show Pod, and you can get your hands on some exclusive content, including coming very, very soon, the live show from the Canal House in Nottingham. We're going to be uploading that in shortly, so keep your eyes peeled, because it's the only way you're going to be able to see it unless you are there. Right, last episode, we did Squad Planning 101. Personally, I enjoyed that. I thought it was good. Okay.
Yeah.
This week, we're revving Aaron up. Okay. It's his time. I like planning. Aaron's got something else he fancies, right? Steve, okay, eagle-eyed amongst us may have seen, in order to get the best out of the squad planner, you need to have a tactic in mind first, because obviously you're recruiting to a tactic. Yeah. So, should we do that then, Aaron?
Yeah.
Tactics 101.
Let's talk tactics 101.
Here we go.
1-on-1 or 1-on-1.
1-on-1. Hints and tints.
Tactics 1-on-1. I feel like some jazz should be playing in the background there. Tactics 1-on-1.
This is why things burn, doesn't it?
But yes, crucially, where are we starting from with this, Aaron? Where in the interface in the game are we going?
So when you do open up your save, on the left-hand side, you got loads of options that you can click from. And then we're just going to simply go to tactics. Now, if you haven't set a tactic already, you will have a tactics induction. You can create a tactic now, or you can just skip that induction. And then here on the left-hand side, you will have a choose a tactical style where you've been given options for a tactical style for you to start off with. Now, it's not necessarily saying if you want to do gegenpress, use this, don't change things. It's more so a starting point for you lot. It's a preset. So the assistant here at Leicester, he's recommending gegenpress, vertical tiki-taka, and fluid counter-attack. And we can just simply press 1, but we are going to be doing a 1-0-1 of all these tactical styles.
Okay, so let's talk this through then. So obviously that will be different depending upon which team you pick. So of course Leicester have said this is the style that we like. If you pick Luton, they'd obviously have a different style. If you picked Kaiserslautern, they might have a different style as well. So let's go through them, right? Let's go through them, okay? Let's try and get the pros and cons for what is on offer, okay? So top of the tree then, Aaron, control possession.
Yes. Which aims to dictate play, patiently waits for opening, which it says in the game. Now, the mentality, surprisingly, is on balance. So it's kind of, you're balancing the risk. You're not too cautious, but you're also not too risky in possession, which is sort of something that you're looking for in control possession because you want control of the game. So what I would say is sort of the pro is that if you do have the players suited for this system, you will be good in controlling games and possibly controlling counter-attacks as well. This could be useful for teams that will try and hit you on the counter-attack where you're able to control the game, and that obviously minimizes their opportunities for counter-attacks. But then the
Aaron, sorry to interrupt, mate. Would you say that as opposed to the tiki-takas, which we'll come to, IRL, Arsenal and Man City are kind of doing this right now? If we're looking for a real-life example, would actually weirdly those two be good examples of that?
Yeah, so I think that's a good question, actually, because that allows me to kind of say the differences between the controlled and the tiki-taka, where it's funny because Pep Guardiola himself says he doesn't play this tiki-taka football because he wants things to happen. It's not just passing for pass sake, which is kind of what the tiki-taka can do in Football Manager, whereas, so the difference in-game is sort of the passing as well. So tiki-taka in-game, in possession, preset would use much shorter passing, whereas controlled passing is just shorter passing. So you are trying to move the ball forward, maybe not at speed, but you're trying to move the ball about, whereas tiki-taka, everything's a bit more slow, more sideways passes where your centre-backs could be racking up a few passes before you actually do move the ball forward. So that's what I would say the main differences are, and that's what I would say Arsenal and Man City. This is what we're used to more seeing, a controlled possession rather than a tiki-taka, just passing for passing sake. But what I would say a con is with the controlled possession or any sort of possession tactics is the ability to sort of score goals. So what I feel many teams are good at in real life and Football Manager is exploiting space. So sort of in transition, when you do win the ball, many goals can be scored in that transitional phase where the opposition are sort of out of their possession, their defensive positions. But with controlled possession, if you are moving the ball sort of slowly, those low block teams could get in their defensive positions, making it a little more difficult to break down.
So in terms of,
you go.
Sorry, Steve. Just so in terms of players that you might need for a controlled possession side, like, are you looking at players who are technical? Like, do they have to have good composure, good decision making? I mean, what they just spitball like a few high level sort of like attributes for players that you might want to look at to go, hey, if you want to control possession, you need to have players who can sort of do this sort of thing. Yeah.
So with control possession, you actually you can press choose formation. So I would just click control possession here on the game for those who can't see it. I'm going to use choose a formation, and now I've got 3 formations that is best suited to control possession as the game believes, and which is the 4-2-3-1, the 4-3-3, and the 5-2-3. Now, with certain positions and certain roles, I feel it just depends. Now, you could have this sort of DNA within your team where everyone has to have a decent first touch, everyone has to have good passing, good composure, but then I do feel certain positions, certain attributes should be a priority compared to others. Now, I can use a 4-3-3 DM wide as an example, and I will be looking at this sort of DM for me because he's sort of by himself, he's lone, so is the striker as well, to be fair. But I feel the DM is in a lone position where I feel mentally he will have to have some really, really good attributes. And I'm talking concentration, teamwork, work rate, positioning is going to be very key. Anticipation, knowing when to read the game. So many people might go, oh, deep line playmaker. First off, start looking at passing, division, and first touch. But he needs to have the mental ability to actually perform those actions. So he could have great passing, 20 technique. Oh, brilliant. But if his composure's on 5 and his decision making's on 5, that passing is not going to be useful for your team at all. So I actually believe I will be more confident in him having a high mental attribute with his technical, just hitting the average rather the other way around.
The question I had was on the point you're making earlier. Notice the pen and paper app, by the way, for those watching. Burning a hole in the desk.
We all learn, Steve. We all learn.
Yeah, because also as well, I play with a deep line playmaker the whole time. I've never thought about actually putting the composure and decision making as actually weirdly being more, because you're totally right. If a 14 based technical executor has a composure of 18, they're probably better than someone who's those stats the way around.
Yeah, exactly. Like a player who can play Hollywood balls or a player who can play the right balls. Which one? Composure is such an underused. I think we've touched upon it. Sorry, so we'll come back to you in a second. We touched upon it when we were talking about penalty taking. Remember a few weeks back? Yeah. And we were like, everyone goes, "Oh, penalties, get the penalty." And it's like, no. Composure is the secret attribute here. That you can be 20 composed, you can be 20 penalty taken, but if you're nervous when you step up,
it's pointless.
You're going to miss. There's going to be moments when you miss, but if you're like proper cool as a cucumber, then of course you're increasing that likelihood of scoring. So sorry, Steve. In you go.
Yeah. I was just going to say, because you were saying earlier about the issue sometimes being goals and it almost being like not quite this, but it can be it seems quite sterile, sort of sucking the joy out of the game sort of thing. He goes in transition, and then it comes up and it says when possession has been lost. Does having it selected as counter pressure as the default, is that an attempt to give a little bit of bite, a little bit of push, sort of thing?
Yeah. So I believe the theory with tactics that rely in possession or on possession, I believe the best theory for them defensively is to get back on the ball instantly, because the aim from the get-go is to control the game. And I feel it very difficult if you're trying to control the game and you lose the ball, but then your first thought is, actually, let's just get back and let's soak up the pressure, because then the opposition can then start to control the game. So you do want to apply some pressure, especially in transition when you do lose the ball. Again, it's also about minimizing the opposition's counter-attack as well, because if you are, again, a team that's looking to be in possession, if another team is reacting, the one way they are going to react is by looking to counter-attack. And counter-press can be a useful tool to stop those counter-attacks.
So it's almost a defensive thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's also interesting too in out of possession, if you click onto that, when it looks at defensive shape, it says mid-block line of engagement and then a higher defensive line. So it's really congesting the space in which the whole team is operating in. Obviously, does that then mean, would you recommend that with a higher defensive line, you're going to want defenders with some pace? Because the risk there is obviously a ball over the top. Or does the mid-block line of engagement mean that I
think this is all down possibly to interpretation rather than there's one best way. Like, there's many people that play this game, high defensive line, automatically their thought is, I'm going to get a Diamande that's very fast and can catch players. But in my mind, it's actually, I'm just going to get a very tall centre-back that can stop those over-the-top balls, but also a centre-back that can read the game. If you're positioned well, Maldini style, if you're positioned well, you shouldn't necessarily have to use that pace. Now, there's going to be certain situations where a through ball down the channel, your centre-back should have to move out. So they have to have some sort of agility, especially if you're defending high as well. I think more so, not tracking back, but being aggressive. I think you need to have that agility to actually leave your defensive position to then close down an attacker. So maybe getting further forward and actually leaving the defensive line, I would possibly say so, but covering, I think that could be more so down, my interpretation anyway, is more so down to the player's position and how he reads the game. Now, again, I don't think there's a right way. So actually what you could do is have one centre-back, spotless positioning, not the fastest, but spotless position, excellent reading in the game. And then you've got another centre-back who can chase down those attackers. He can cover for a centre-back, he can cover for a fullback with his pace, but he might not be quite there mentally in terms of his anticipation and his positioning. So it may be a mixture of both. it's very difficult to find one defender that's just got all of it, sort of thing. But we have seen defenses, especially in real life as well, where you wouldn't necessarily, like, I wouldn't necessarily call Manchester City's defenders the fastest defenders in the world.
Yeah.
I just feel they're very smart in their positioning.
Read the game well.
Yeah, and read the game well. Yeah. So again, yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And obviously, this is where this game develops year on year on year
Yeah,
on year on
yeah,
year. Again,
yeah.
we go back to 20 years ago. It was just you had a centre back, and that was it. Like you obviously now have the different roles that go with it. So
Yeah.
okay, so control possession, interesting. Again, sort of try and slow the game down a bit. Of course, as control the game, obviously. One of the more popular ones, I suppose, really is Gegenpress,
My
full
favorite.
throttle, run around like headless chickens, as far as I see it. But I'm sure the more up to date managers, of course, will be screaming at me, going, "We're not running around with headless chickens, Tony. There's a purpose."
Yeah. See, now with Gegenpress, like we can all guess it. I think it's all down to the physical attributes here. I mean, with all of these, all the attribute columns are going to be important. Obviously, some are just going to be a priority. Now, you don't want to have a Gegenpress with a team with low agility and low stamina. That just completely defeats the purpose of using that tactical style. So, talking about Gegenpress, that relies on every player in the team working hard and, above all else, being fit and mobile enough to press the opposition immediately after losing the ball. So it actually tells you, look, physical attributes is something that you really want to look at in this tactic. Now, again, with the preset, you don't necessarily have to use how it is. I feel the preset is kind of exaggerated. So it's gone with the high press, the high defensive line, trigger press much more often, step up more, and with the tempo and higher as well. You can wheel some of these things back, especially tempo. Like you can go back to shorter passing and then move the tempo to slightly higher for those who are watching as well, those who are listening in the tactical screen. So once you have selected the Gegenpress tactical style, in the in possession instructions, this is where you can change your passing directness and stuff to kind of just to wheel it in a little bit, especially if you're new to the game or you're trying to work out what is the best tactical style for your team. You don't want to go out all ham and just say, everyone, operate at the most intense as you can. Maybe you want to work your way towards that, but at the start, maybe you want to wheel it in a little bit just to see how your team reacts and performs, and then you can sort of tweak from there.
Okay, so I suppose real life example, I'm going to go right with an arrow straight through the Liverpool badge at this point. Is that right? I guess that's kind of what everyone would suggest that Klopp is probably known for, is bringing this Gegenpress style to the Premier League. Yeah.
And this is where, so we actually sort of spoke about the pros of using a high defensive line in the possession tactic, where you can actually congest the middle of the pitch, you can close down attackers, you can get close to attackers, but then with the Gegenpress, we can start to see some of the cons where people are obviously pressing heavily, leaving their position, operating with defensive line. It can be easy, or it can be easy. If your press is not right, it can be easy to expose that defensive high line. And as we've seen in real life, sometimes it just doesn't matter if you've got fast defenders or not, because the opposition are likely to have decent players. So the game that I'm thinking of is when Villa went to Liverpool and just gave them an absolute battering. And we saw then how a defensive line can just be exposed time and time after again, no matter the quality of the defenders that you've got in your team. If your pressing is not right, or even if you're missing a certain player, it can be very detrimental to the whole system.
High risk, high reward stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Villa there, and we've got some notes on potentially the next tactic. I'm gonna potentially throw out that maybe Villa or Brighton. Do they fit the Tika-taka mold these days? Have they moved up into there?
I think it would depend on. So this is like in real life, especially when recreating, is you've kind of got to have this in your head that obviously there's going to be game situations, match situations, and there's going to be obviously different opponents. So like Villa is a very good example of, actually, I saw you play this way in this match and you're just playing a complete different way. Maybe not a complete different way, but you've clearly tweaked your system and you've reacted to what's going on here. And Villa is a very good example of that. Now, I have seen them myself a few times, especially last year, where it looked like they were almost using a 4-2-4 sort of formation. And it also looked like McGinn was like very, very high up. But then the moment they win the ball, their shape is completely different to when they do lose the ball. And when you mentioned on the Tiki-taka, we did see that sort of a nice, fluid, expressive moments in attack. Maybe not necessarily when it comes to defending and defending high, because I do believe I remember seeing Villa defending like with a back five. It was sort of the trend at that time where one of the wingers will literally track all the way back and they can defend in the back five. Pretty smart. But then when they're moving forward, you can say there's elements of, especially a vertical tiki-taka as well, where they're floating tens, moving about and then being expressive, sometimes working the ball into the box, not being as aggressive. We know like Ollie Watkins like to be aggressive, but even Ollie Watkins has seen a tweak to how he plays as well. So you could, there's definitely an argument, but I wouldn't necessarily say the whole tactical style from the back to the end or to the top, I'll say, is vertical tiki-taka, but there is definitely elements of it.
Okay, so how would that vary, and how would that differentiate then between the vertical tiki-taka presets? You've got tiki-taka, vertical tiki-taka. What are the two explicit differences really between those two styles?
I would say with the vertical tiki-taka, expect your team to break their shape more often. I think with the tiki-taka, you've got your set positions. You've got your right winger as a right winger. You've got your left winger as a left winger, and then your striker as a striker. And that doesn't really change much because obviously you want your wingers to stretch the pitch. In most tiki-taka systems, you have your wingers stretching the pitch, your striker dropping deep and collecting the ball, with your 2-8s kind of operating in those half spaces, or I should say the channels for those who don't like being called half space. I was watching someone.
Silly made up titles.
Yeah,
that
I was watching someone like, what is a half space? But yeah, I think that's mainly like one of the big differences, and you can see that as well in Football Manager. In transition, a tiki-taka, they are expected to hold their shape rather than a vertical tiki-taka. They're expected to counter-attack, which would be breaking their actual positional shape. But also, what you would expect is, of course, a lot more narrow play. And if you're not using a narrow formation, you will expect your wider players to then start to move in more narrow, helping the players in midfield. Your players will be a lot more closer to each other as well, operating in close proximity in a vertical tiki-taka as well. With the vertical tiki-taka, I'll say a good starting point for me would be the 4-4-2 diamond, I believe. I mean, many people will still use the 4-3-3, of course, but my starting point will be the 4-4-2 diamond.
Yeah. Why is that? Asking for a friend?
More so just because it's like the vertical play is natural. The players are already sort of positioned in that area. It's more natural. So I feel like I'm going to get more vertical play that way. Sort of like wing play, right? Like you would make sure you've got at least 2 wide men on each flanks when it comes to wing play, because the whole point in it is getting the ball into those wider areas and then getting the ball into the box. And for me, for vertical tiki-taka, the whole point is moving the ball through the middle. So theoretically, the more bodies in the middle, the better that I can progress the ball. Of course, we don't want stationary, so we will have to use roles like a Mazzala that would break his shape and create space for another player to drop in and stuff. But obviously, the aim naturally is just to move the ball and progress through those central areas.
And the default has a carrilero.
Yes.
I guess is that sort of horizontal.
Yeah. So the carrilero will be there staying wide. And of course, you don't want all your attacks to be one-dimensional as well. So actually, in a vertical tiki-taka using a diamond, you could see the best. I mean, you might be looking at playmaker and thinking, let me just put my version of Kaka up there and expect this wonderful play. But then when you're watching your game, actually, it might be your fullback and your right back and left back, actually the ones that are very effective at exploiting the space, because you can picture the opposition. They're playing vertical tiki-taka. Let's stop the middle. Let's not let them progress in the middle. And in turn, that could just give a huge amount of space for your fullbacks to be putting in the ball in the box. And that could make them highly effective.
I have just worked out why my tactic with vertical tiki-taka doesn't work.
Yeah,
because I'm using it with wingers, and so really I need to ditch that off and go back to what I love, which is wing play. Let's be honest.
This is it. I've been playing with vertical tiki-taka the entire Fiorentina say pretty much, and I've never used a 4-4-2 diamond narrow, and I feel like an idiot now.
even now, just understanding the nuance of tiki-taka and vertical tiki-taka, I'm like, I probably need to be, if I'm going to do that sort of style of play, I need to be more normal tiki-taka than vertical. Yeah. But to be fair, I mean, I love control possession. Like, I like to have the football. I like to work my way around. But I'm going to say, Aaron, Like, you've scared me off. I want to go back to the wings.
Well, to be fair, like
Give me
it happens to everyone,
11,
right?
7 and 11. That's what I want.
It happens to everyone. This is why I have so much respect for bloggers, because it feels like they've just got like their heads are switched on all the time. Whereas for me, like when I'm streaming, like as much as I'm saying this now on the podcast, but when I'm streaming and things are very emotional for me, like I can't think that logically. Like that logic is not in my head when I'm playing as well. So I think it just goes for everyone, which is why like in Football Manager, I know it's a bit corny and a bit cheesy, but my go-to, it's sort of real life anyway. Like if you ask me what I prefer to watch, it's going to be like Liverpool, a team like Liverpool where it's just non-stop action and anything can sort of happen on the day. And I'm the sort of person, might not be a full-blown gegenpress, but I'm a very 4-4-2-3-1 guy in Football Manager 24. Mm-hmm. And I've got to a point where I've learned the system so well, I don't want to move away from it. And that's very bad being a tactics guy. You got to be exploring other tactics and stuff. But I don't know. It's like I feel so comfortable with the 4-2-3-1 this year, and anything else just kind of like, ooh, what's happening? That sort of thing. Like, I don't know. Even in the 4-3-3,
well, maybe that's why, Aaron, actually today is a good exercise, not just for the listeners and the viewers, but you know, for yourself, myself, Tony's self as well.
This is what I mean. I think it's more so because I play my streams, I play my saves on stream, so I've got this. I add this pressure on myself to win games, sort of thing, and I don't have this period. I never allow myself to have this period of trying things out. It's always the first 5 games I'm trying things out, and after the 5 games, I'm gonna stick with something, and then we're just gonna stick with that for the rest of the season, sort of thing. We do make tweaks, of course. We do make tweaks, of course, between before every game, but they're not tactical changing tweaks. Like the style's not changing. I'm changing from I will change from an advanced forward to a deep line forward, which can change, but we're still building from the back the same. My attacking width is still narrow. It's still the same sort of thing. So I'm just changing one role, whatever it is, to try and get the better out of someone else. But I'm not actually changing my tactic completely. Though we do have an away. Again, we do have an away version where 2 DMs are on defend.
We're getting too deep into the weeds.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That is tactic. That is tactics 102. Yeah, we have to do that. But you're right; those little role changes rather than wholesale changes do make the whole difference. Of course, we are talking more about styles at this point rather than the actual roles and specifics. So, okay, so we've talked about classic wing play. Get the ball out wide. Get chalk on your boots. Let players either ping the balls in from deep or get to the byline and ping it back. Love a bit of that. Also, as well, I am partial to just having the ball at the feet of a defender who then just winds his leg up and pings it as far as he possibly can to a big, tall centre forward to flick it on for a little centre forward who's dead quick. Route 1.
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, people. I do have to say something about wing play, because what I like about wing play is it's a tactical style that you can embed in another one. So again, I'm using gegenpress, but I love wing play. So we are still focusing down the play. We've got 2 wing backs on attack, getting forward and overlapping. So we are still using wing play, but we're also using gegenpress, if that makes sense. So I think gegenpress, like you can, wing play, sorry. I think wing play you can add onto various different tactical styles. Obviously, probably not vertical tiki-taka, because the whole point is to attack through the middle. But route 1, this is something that I don't think I've even attempted to use on Football Manager. The main aim is to get the ball from point 1 to point 2 in as quickly and as little as fast as you can. So often you will see your centre-back just lobbing it forward to your striker. Now, when it comes to formation and shapes, I think the 2 striker is always best. Football Manager sort of agrees. They've got the 4-4-2 and a 5-3-2. They've also got the 4-3-3 as well, with just the target forward up top. My only issue is when we are lobbing the ball forward, can we get players close enough to that target forward to win flick-ons and that sort of stuff, which is why I just go to 4-4-2, because you've got that automatic partner there. Lob the ball to the target forward. You've got a pressing forward, or you've got a poacher, or you've got a advanced forward ready for that flick-on. Route 1 is very... Now, you might say, gegenpress, that's risky. In my head, Route 1 is even way more riskier. Even though it sounds like it's supposed to be defensive and keep solid, for me, is actually very risky, especially in possession.
Well, you've got to try and win the second ball, isn't it? It's not about winning the first ball, it's about winning the second ball. And that, of course, is then risk and reward. You're pumping the ball into this area, hoping you're going to win the first ball in the first place. And then you've got to chase after that next bit. And Steve, I mean, is there a part of you that like sort of, I know you're in Florence and that, but is there a part of you that longs for like a return to the Renaissance?
Ironically, for Florence, yeah.
Yeah.
I do have Lorenzo Luca, of course, who, for those who played FM22, Wonder Kid, he's the target forward of the, so yeah, since buying him and deliberately buying him because I didn't have a forward of that profile, I have sometimes, not for a full 90 minutes, for certain game states, will go more direct because it's, get it up to the fridge freezer playmaker I've got up there, But that is more Route 1-esque attributes within a different tactic rather than Route 1 wholly, because things like, again, going into the out of possession elements of this, lower defensive line, no way, I'm not about having my centre backs and full backs next to my keeper. That's not for me. Mid block again sometimes, but I'm more likely to do the control possession or Tika-taka thing of pushing my defensive line higher and bringing my forward line back rather than pushing my defensive line too far back. So elements. And obviously, we talk about these as in they're divided into sub boxes, but there obviously are overlaps in a lot of these styles, right? So, depending on the situation, maybe. And actually, there's an element of spithousery to some of the Route 1 stuff, right? It's sort of locked in terms of play for set pieces, which is a default if you go into the in possession bit, it's time wasting sometimes. There are elements. It's kind of like the spithousery formation as a foundation, right?
It can
as
be
a tactic, sorry.
And as you say as well, it's handy for if you're chasing a game. So it's maybe just a game state style, which again we'll talk about as another episode with, because I think that FM24 rewards you almost. And again, we'll talk about this later. Rewards you for having variations of your style and your tactics. This is my game state here, my game state here, my game state here. Okay, so if Route 1's not going to be on your table, Steve, how about being a bit more fluid, soaking up the pressure, fluid counter attack? That's a bit more easy on the eye, isn't it? Breaking at pace, soaking up that pressure. Is that not a little bit more? I mean, think about the classic Man United team of the 90s would have done that, taken a bit of pressure and broke quickly.
Would it be fair to say, Aaron, that like in terms of the groupings of these things, Route 1, like fluid, as Tony has kind of alluded to there, like fluid counter attack is kind of the slightly fancier cousin of Route 1 in terms of like, it is that. It's not a deliberate decision to create that sort of out of the ball, out of possession defensive structure because that's kind of the players you've got. It's more kind of like we know that actually, because the negative stereotype, right, is that Route 1 is your traditional Sean Dyche at Burnley, David Moyes, etc. This is the stereotype is not always necessarily true. Whereas something like a fluid counter-attack might have been a Mourinho-era Chelsea, for example, who has got incredibly high-caliber players who can play the possession game, but they've deliberately... It's almost like... Because I remember watching those Mourinho teams, especially against Arsene Wenger Arsenals, deliberately going, we can do this all day, wait for you to pass it around pointlessly, and we're going to destroy you. And it wasn't giving up possession due to lack of ability. It was a deliberate decision to wait, pick it up, and then just hit and be ruthless.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think tell us more about your fluid counter attack.
So I think fluid counter attack is still, like you mentioned, Chelsea. It's a very good example where Leicester at the moment in Football Manager 24, and again we have been recommended this style. Now you may think this is more so like a defensive minded sort of thing, but I think this is just something that if you prefer to play this sort of way, as in this over attacking aggressive sense coach, you are like this. You do enjoy having some sort of solid defensive shape as well. I think fluid counter attack could be a very good option for you because it's still one that requires good players, if that makes sense. Like it's not one that you'd be like, we're a weaker team, so we're just going to use fluid. No, because your players still need to make good decisions in order to be expressive in that final third and make the right decisions. With fluid counter attack, you are going to expect players to be able to carry the ball, make counter-attacking runs. It's similar to direct counter-attack, but with that direct counter-attack, everything's a lot more structured and you've got your set way of playing. I feel with the fluid counter-attack, you can see some expressions. Your inverted winger, just think of Iron Rabin and that sort of stuff. You can still get that within your game, and you're still going to need a very good midfielder like a Michael Essien. So like Steve mentioned, it's not just sitting there and just, It's more so we can do this because we've got the players to win the ball at the right moment, attack at the right moment, rather than we're just doing this because we're not good enough or we can't do what they can do. No, we can do what they can do, but we just prefer, this is our way of playing. We've got Michael Essien, a Kante in the team, break up play, give it to Arjen Robben, be more expressive in the final third. The magic happens in the final third. And I think fluid counter-attack is a very good tactical style for that.
Interesting. Would you say that Antonio Conte's teams, obviously for people based in the UK or England more specifically, the Chelsea team that last won under him, that feels like a lot of what you're describing in terms of that. The famously turning Victor Moses into a wing back.
Right, wing back,
and that devastating sort of and actually with the Scudetto that he won with Inter, Lukaku and Martinez were that forward two.
Yeah, the forward two.
And just attacked out.
Yeah, attacked. But it was like, when you watch it, it wasn't just lob it forward sort of.
It felt exciting,
exactly, on purpose. There was nice flick-ons, there was expressiveness and
working
smart runs.
And once they do get,
So it's that sort of thing. Once they do get the ball into the final third, that's where the magic happens. But it's more so everyone concentrate, rely, focus on your job and let us remain solid. Whereas obviously other coach wants to be more aggressive off the ball, and both systems will have its pros and cons.
That's interesting, that, because I don't think I would have necessarily considered fluid counter-attack or even more direct counter-attack previously. But it's, maybe not as a fundamental, again, as a game state thing, but it is still quite... It is exciting. It is a kind of like the negative there is again. I
like a fluid counter attack because again, like if you've got the players that can play it, when you watch the animations, you can get some really really exciting play going on, and you see a different style. You're like, oh hey, look at that! My guys are doing that.
It's my favorite highlight. My favorite highlight is literally what we explained, is when we can see the AI just racking up passes and we're just sitting there thinking, they're not going to break through us. We're going to win this any moment and we're going to go on the counter. Like, it's going to happen. You can feel it because you're just watching your team like, we're not going to break our shape. We're so well positioned right here. And then you're just there literally waiting. You could just imagine Jose Mourinho on the side and just waiting. Go on, Cesc. Go on, misplace that pass. I'm waiting. Sort of thing. Yeah.
Beautiful highlights. Zara says there, of just you're in a great shape, and you can see your defender or your DM goes, I'm gonna get that pass, and he
reads it.
He runs in, intercepts it, and then all of a sudden your players go, oh, it's on. Right, okay.
It's literally my favourite highlight.
Swarm forwards, and it's like,
literally, that's my favourite one, man. So that one gets me off of my seat. It's like when you do win the ball and you can see your teams running forward, like, go on, boys, go.
Quickly going, like, who's got decision making? Oh, God, he's not. He's got the wrong. Give it to someone who knows what they're doing.
My heart sinks, though, when you do that and your players have run forward and you just lost the ball and attacking further, like, uh-oh, everyone run back now. They're about to do the same thing to us now. That's good. So, that's what I was saying. And then direct, I think direct's a lot more structured, and even in Football Manager, it's like when you do get the ball in the final third, still play for set pieces. There's no expression, you do what you need to do sort of thing. This one's actually a low block, whereas I think a fluid is more mid block. This is like literally sit in camp, and then even when we do move the ball forward, run wide of the ball, try and get a throw in. If we can get a throw in, then we can get the big guys at the back up forward. Win a corner, win a free kick. Again, allow those big guys get forward, and that's how we can win a game. Smash and grab.
Absolutely. So what I think then, right? So let's kind of park this for now, right? Because obviously there's still a few more styles to talk about, and we can talk about this for literally all day. Right? We have already touched upon the fact that there are game state styles. I've already mentioned, I think in previous episodes, where I said that in my Blythe Spartan save, I've got a 4-3-3, but with 3 different styles. So again, it's the same tactic, but I'm like, hey, this is how I play as my fluid counter-attack. This is how I play as my wing play. This is how I play as my press or my control possession. So again, we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth next week. But of course, remember, let us know how you like to play as well, and let us know what sort of teams you're using and what sort of things that you'd be looking out for. And we'll come back and we'll chat a little bit more about that in next week's show. Hello everyone, Tony here. Hope you're enjoying the episode, and if you are enjoying the episode, then maybe you might consider signing up to support us on Patreon, Aaron.
Yes, and we can't just leave it there. I think we should tell them more. What are we offering?
Okay, right. So Patreon, if you don't know what Patreon is a way of supporting the FM show as a podcast if you can afford it. We must stress if you can afford it, okay?
Yes.
If you want to sign up, become a member of the FM show team, You can do so from as little as £3 a month. And Aaron, what are we going to give them in return?
Exclusive content, some of my favorite things, but also a Patreon shout out. We will get some bonus episodes given to you. I believe as well you get some Discord benefits. Am I right?
There's Discord benefits, absolutely. There's a little private secret channel in there where only the Patreons can talk, where they get maybe they get some heads up on things that we're going to start making in the future as well. We've started putting save files in for certain tiers. You might hear about live show tickets early doors because, you know, we've got a live show on now. We might have more in the future, and we're going to let our Patreons know about that first.
Oh, yes. And even if you're struggling a bit on Football Manager, we will be doing a monthly Q&A for FM24.
Absolutely, and there's going to be loads more stuff as well, potentially things like me and Aaron going up against each other on versus mode. It's going to be the place to be. If you can afford to support the podcast, please do. From as little as £3 a month, you can go and visit patreon.com/the FM Show Pod to become a member of the FM Show squad. So right, now, time for the mailbag, because obviously our conversation has been overflowing. Our mailbag has also been overflowing. Aaron, off to YouTube and Discord for you.
Yes, the YouTube and Discord is continuing to pop off, and the calls for Canada are loud. We've got Tyler Detlin 7338. Fellas, you got to do an online career save. Would love to see that. I would love to be a part of that as well. Would work great for YouTube. Hell, I would even watch it on Twitch. Let's go, Tyler. I'd say I do the Canada Premier League because I am Canadian, of course, and you would all play each other a fair bit. Oh, how many times would you have to play each other then?
Is it, what, it's 7?
Yeah, oh God, I was going to say 4, but yeah, you're probably right, about 7 or so. It's quite a lot.
7 teams, I was going to say, but I'm not
7
sure
teams,
that's
yeah.
right.
Oh, okay, so yeah, 106 times each.
That's crazy. But he also goes on to say that Tim Hortons field is where Forge FC in the Canadian Premier League play. Give it a go, lads. Tim Hortons, that's definitely a save there for you.
Not a sponsor yet.
Not a sponsor
Tim,
yet,
if
but
you're listening.
we are very
Tim
keen.
or
Very
Tyler,
keen.
can you help out as well?
I also stupidly searched for Toronto FC trying to get to the Canadian Premier League, the only Canadian team that are in the MLS, obviously. So not that one.
And Vancouver.
Oh, are they the White Cat? That was literally
Vancouver. Yeah.
that was what I was
So
typing there.
I've got, Forge, Valor, York United, which again we mentioned before with
Are
the
York
New Zealand
United
striker
in
William
the,
Wallace. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm trying to get...
Some
there
good
must be
teams
an
in
easy
Canada.
way to
Canada's
get
fun.
the Premier League,
Steve.
Yeah?
Mm.
Canada's fun.
You might like Canada. Canada's fun.
I've been to Canada when they went there this year. Had a lovely time.
Ooh.
Scouting.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Some great black bears that probably could do a really good role as a box-to-box midfielder, yeah. But that is interesting. For Jesse, which you just said, so that's what I should have typed in the first place, wasn't it? Anyway, I need some Tim Hortons clearly to keep me waking up. Speaking of Canada, hello there to Geordie Vision, who has got in touch with us in the Discord. I am a radio host in Canada, says Geordie Vision. Love the show, love the game. Well done, Geordie Vision. You have passed the toll, paid for it. Here's another team I could have searched because Geordie is playing as Cavalry FC in the Canadian Premier League, and started 2 new saves, one with Cardiff City and one in the J League. So check it out. Cheers, everyone. I hope your tactics are bang on. That's from Geordie there. So that's another. I'm half wondering. I'm going to search Cavalry FC. I'm just wondering if it's Calgary.
Maybe suggesting he's got it wrong and it's his own team.
I'm just wondering. Don't know why I'm in the position to feel like I can name Canadian Premier League teams. I'm just thinking Calgary is a place. Yeah, the Calgary Foothills.
Wow.
The lower league Canadian side.
Okay, but Cavalry FC are
Do they exist?
definitely a team.
Yeah, Calvary, yeah. Vancouver FC.
Yeah, Cavalry.
Cavalry FC.
Pacific
yeah.
FC.
Geordie, I apologise. I'm going to shut up. And they're in the Canadian Premier League. There you go. Overview. Wow. Anyway, I would definitely learn a lot because I clearly don't know anything about it.
Yeah, literally.
What's next?
I'm on for this. Aaron, another request for you in the Discord from Matty Zucks. at RDF Tactics. Any plans on doing a training video for FM24 / releasing your training schedules? I'm struggling with training a little bit.
Yes, that video is actually out on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/RDF Tactics. But I've actually spoken to Tony about this as well. I do want to do sort of a Patreon bonus episode on training, because it's very difficult to explain this in a video on a YouTube video and keep people interested,
doesn't it?
Yeah, it's more so for people that want to hear about it and want to learn about it. But I feel, especially with the scheduling and where you put your scheduling and all that sort of stuff, is very, very important. So I do have a training video out now. But if you're actually also interested in hearing how to make your own ones, then I would hop over to the Discord to the Patreon, where we would have a training episode as well.
Patreon.com / the FM Show Pod. FM Show Pod. So there you go. That's where you want to be on that one. Keep your eyes peeled. Steve.
And finally, to wrap up this particular episode of the FM show, our 20th, which we haven't mentioned, actually, 2 decades.
Yeah.
2-0.
2 decades. It feels like 2 decades.
Yeah, it does sometimes, certainly at this point. Adam Windsor is an email, which, of course, as we all know, if you want to email the show, you can do it at the FM Show Pod. That's the FM Show Pod at gmail.com. 20 episodes and I finally got it right. There you go.
Just so you know, I took the email address out of the copy and paste of the email. So Steve had to try and remember the email address.
There you go. Anyway, Adam Windsor did email the FM Show Pod at gmail.com. Says, hi chaps, hello Adam, love the pod, tick. And I've been playing since the CM2 days. I've not really had friends who have played FM. They're all FIFA players. Well, welcome Adam, you have friends here, but the pod means so much to me, especially the community challenges, and I've started a new challenge thanks to my surprise shirts.
Ooh.
FM Show Pod, 10% discount. It came on Friday for Adam, which was the most recent Friday as to when he sent this email. Who knows when that was? He does. I don't. And so Adam is on season 1 managing Fuenlabrada FC. Currently 6 months clear at the end of January. Would never have dreamed of managing in lower tier Spain, but absolutely loving it. And then Adam's wife is already planning on getting him another shirt for Christmas. Just want to say a big thank you. I look forward every week to my Patreon notification that the pod is out. And I look forward to a new community challenge when that comes. Keep up the great work. Many thanks, Adam.
Oh, there you go. That's all right, isn't it? Appreciate
What a lovely
that.
message that is.
Exactly.
That's a great message.
And you know what? The thing I've taken out of that one, Steve, is that you got to say the team he's managing rather than me have to attempt to butcher it.
I would have just said Fuenlabrada.
And I have taken a team. So there you go. Shirt is lovely. Right.
I would say one thing though, if his friends are FIFA players, maybe try and tempt them to not play the actual Football Manager, but maybe just try and play versus mode and see if they like that, because that could be a very fun thing to do with your friends as well.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
and also
one
final thing, sorry, Fuenlabrada play at the Estadio Fernando Torres, and it is that one.
No way. So we got Vicente del Bosque Stadium, Fernando Torres Stadium. Wow.
Because Fernando Torres never played for the club, but was born in that town. So that is why.
I mean, imagine being a club legend and you've got and the stadium's named after someone that's never even played. Oh, I'll be fuming.
So you're really reaching for the sort of name, aren't you? There. Yeah.
I'll be fuming.
Yeah.
I've got 300 appearances.
Arena
I'll be calling up Bari.
Right. So that I think that's been pretty good, to be honest. Episode 20 in the bag. Speaking of bags, if you want to get into our mailbag, it is, of course, as we said there, the FM Show Pod at gmail.com. Of course, send us long emails into there, and of course you can follow us on all the social media platforms: Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
I'm sorry, I also realized that you could sub on Spotify now as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Lovely stuff.
So I was going to lead up to that, but you're right. I was going, oh shit!
I thought you'd gone, because I was reading. I thought you'd gone past it. I was like, oh, can I add this in here now?
Do we need another on-air production chat, Aaron?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Read the script.
It was like a surprise for people.
And let Tony do it. Fucking hell. Wow. Okay. So where were we?
I forget. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the FM show. Right. What you can do. Okay. What you
sub on Spotify, Tony? Is that
you
something
can sub on Spotify? Can't believe I haven't mentioned this. Yes, you can. You can now do so as well as Patreon, if you can afford, of course, to support the podcast, and you like what we do, and you want the bonus episodes. Okay, all the Patreon stuff is gonna be bonus episodes, and of course, you got like save files and all that kind of stuff. If you just want access to bonus episodes, you can now subscribe on Spotify. It's the same price, £3 a month. The links will be, of course, in the description below, and then you'll get those exclusive episodes at the same time that our Patreon supporters do as well. And it came as a surprise to Aaron. It came as a surprise to you all.
Wow.
But it will be good.
Yeah,
okay,
and to be clear as well, this is not like saying do Patreon and Spotify. It's like if Spotify's easier for you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. It's all through one app. So if you just want the episodes and you don't want any of the extra stuff that comes with Patreon and you can afford to support the podcast, then please feel free. Again, remember, there will always be a free weekly episode, irrespective. Okay, so do remember that. Okay, so like I say, we appreciate everyone who listens, shares, and gets involved in the socials. And of course, those so lovely clips that we're going to be sharing all over social media, which is going to be most of this episode this week, to be honest. So yeah, thank you so much. That is, of course, episode 20 of the FM show. I've been your host, Tony Jameson. Our co-host, who can now read, is Aaron Falloon, aka RDF Tactics. And our producer, who puts up with us when he really shouldn't, is producer Steve Hankey. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. Bye now.